Greetings from IAS. We are joining you from the Adventist International Institute of Advanced Studies located in Silang, Cavite, which is just outside of Manila for those who may be watching from outside of this country. Today we have a very interesting topic. We're discussing gender discrimination. And when we say gender discrimination, I think in most cultures, there is no better group to talk about it than the women themselves. So today I have invited 4 women from 4 different countries to share with us. I think they come from actually 3 different continents. And they are going to share with us what we should learn, what we should know about gender discrimination when we are dealing with people from different genders. And before we start, I want to let you know that the views expressed on this program only reflect the opinions of our participants. They are not opinions of IAS. Therefore, if somebody says something that you don't agree with, do not write to IAS. Rather, write to me, and we'll try to get the answers to you. At the end of the program, I'll be sharing with you the email address of our program. Something else I want to indicate is that IAS, being an Adventist university, we believe in 2 genders, masculine and feminine, men and women. And therefore, we may not be addressing a third gender or neutral gender as it is coming up today in society. We'll be focusing on men and women. So let's get to meet 4 fine ladies who are going to share with us what we should know about gender discrimination. Let's start on my left. On my left, can you tell us who you are, where you're from, and what you're doing here?
My name is Carol Kingston. I come from the northeastern part of India, and I'm a PhD student in educational administration.
Welcome back to the program. Carol, we have had you here before.
Hello, everybody. My name is Blessing Obaya. I'm from Nigeria, and I'm studying in the education department.
So I guess we have met somewhere in a class somewhere because I teach also in the education department. Welcome back, Blessing. I think we have had you here also on the program. Let's go to my right.
I'm Evelyn Almocera. I'm from the Philippines. I work as a campus physician and is teaching also for the Department of Public Health for IAS.
Welcome back, Dr. Evelyn. I think we had you here. Yeah, not long ago, I think like 2 months ago or something, and I learned a lot from you. And so welcome back to our program.
My name is Alina Dumitrescu, and I'm originally from Romania. I have the privilege of working as a director of the English Center and also teaching part-time in the School of Education.
Welcome to our program, Dr. Alina. I don't think we have had you here yet. I've tried it several times, but it just...
Actually, I was here before.
It must have been a long time ago. Okay, I've tried a lot to have you on the program. I'm glad that today your schedule allowed you to be here. So let's just get started with the first question. What comes to your mind when somebody says gender discrimination? Let's start with Blessing.
Gender discrimination is when you categorize people not based on individual merits, but because it is a class, just like that, not because of who they are as a person or what merits they bring. And also it's classifying people and giving people treatments to their disadvantage.
Okay, wow. You know, one thing that always amazes me with Blessing, she's so technical in her definitions. That was very, very nicely said. Let's go to Dr. Evelyn.
When I hear the word gender discrimination, what comes to my mind is unequal treatment, either male or female, that leads to some loss of privileges and also opportunities.
I like your definition. And this definition shows that it's not only men or only women. Everybody goes through some kind of gender discrimination. Since we are next to her, let's get her the definition.
Well, my definition would probably be in colors, and I would say pink and blue. I grew up in a culture with probably very little discrimination, I would say, compared to many other cultures. However, this is what I remember since I was very little. Pink was for girls and blue was for boys. And even the mother, before whenever she was expecting a baby, she was preparing the room either for a boy or for a girl.
Wow.
So the mindset was already created.
That is interesting. Now just like somebody who shared something like this from the men's perspective, it's like we're going to start being careful with the colors that we wear, because somebody else had mentioned something about the color. Let's try with Carol.
All right. For me, if you say gender discrimination, it means when you're not treated equally, whether you're a man or a woman. That's just simple.
Unequal treatment of human beings based on their gender is gender discrimination. In the other session, we're trying to show that, well, gender discrimination could be also looked at from positive perspective, that, there are roles biblically that are for men and for women. But we are talking about gender discrimination really from the negative aspect, which is what we have defined here. Where is gender discrimination most common? Home, workplace, or school? Let's start with you, Carol.
This is very, very sensitive, because in India, we have different cultures and different languages. So I would say the first is at home, where the parents would say, girls, you are supposed to do the housework. Boys, your work is outside. So, but on the other hand, I grew up, my parents were not like that, because they have brought us in a way that we both have equal opportunities. So if my brothers are not at home, we do their work too. And if we girls are not at home, they do our work too. Because especially my dad has seen this gender discrimination is too much in India. And he has noticed that it is not good in one way or the other. But generally speaking, yes, in India, usually girls, housework, boys, some other thing. So even it goes to the extent to the workplace. So in India, if you have to go to public offices, government offices, you will find the man usually. And the ladies are just cashier or, doing the other jobs, but not usually at a very high, status of official things.
As you're speaking, Carol, something is disturbing me in my brain. And this is news that I just saw this week. Of rape of a young girl, 8 years old, and the commentator was saying something which I hope is not true, that India is close to becoming the rape capital of the world.
Very true.
And to say that from the home, it's like girls are already kind of conditioned to be lower than boys. Do you think what is happening in the society today is a reflection of what is happening in the home?
Yes, that's very true, and it really makes my heart very sad to see that India, in terms of rape cases, wow. It's really increasing day by day. It's just that the media is not really giving up the actual number. But if you have to really go as a person and find out, well, that's why in some schools now they have even had these kung fu classes, karate classes. Well, I did go for 3 months, thinking that if anything happens to me, there's self-defense for me. And yes, it has been very bad. And then, sometimes when they give complaints, maybe because of bribery, they have been bribed, the men, so there's no justice in one way or the other. So now in some schools, especially in the girls' schools, they have encouraged other physical activities or exercises that they can do a self-defense and just protect themselves from this kind of evil act.
I know our other participants are ready to share, but I want to zero in on this specific topic. If today you were called to be the Prime Minister of India, and it can happen, you never know, what would you do in the family, at the family level, to try to reverse this whole thing? Because to me, it looks like something needs to be done there at the family level.
Well, if really I become the Prime Minister, then whole India will be like an earthquake. It'd be terrible. Well, to say, if you have been culturally nurtured, in that way, it's very hard to change the mindset of people, especially the old people, because they have been born and brought up in that way, and it has become like a taboo. And so we have to really think about what measures we have, what are the guidelines that we can give for the family, especially for the parents, how they would raise their children in the way that this word, the discrimination should not be there, in order to make them understand.
Our hearts really go to the families and the ladies who have been affected, not only in India, in many other countries. They are defenseless, but they go through these terrible experiences of rape. Nobody should ever have to go through that. And I think here at United Diversity, we want to condemn that act. It is wrong. It should never happen. It should be fought. It should be addressed by the churches, by the communities, by the politicians, by teachers, by families. It is wrong. Let's hear from Dr. Alina. Where do you think discrimination, gender discrimination, is the most experienced? Home, workplace, or school?
Well, as a psychologist, I know that everything starts from home. So probably the foundation is laid in the family setting. So discrimination begins with the way we treat our children as parents, the way we teach them, either intentionally or unintentionally, by assigning them different roles or different jobs, by telling them what colors to wear or what they are good in, regardless of their gifts. And for example, I remember being a child, and even though we had equal opportunities as boys and girls to attend whatever university we wanted, I think in the background was always that, girls would be guided towards education and medical fields, and at the same time, boys would be guided towards scientific areas such as math and engineering and so on.
Have you noticed, Dr. Alina, that for most of the professions today, even security guard, who doesn't even have to carry an arm, they have to go through some kind of training, seminars, and so on. Have you noticed that we don't go through any training for parenting? We don't go through any training. We don't get a certificate that, okay, you have successfully completed the training to be a parent. Now you can go and have children. Nobody goes through a training. You have now successfully completed 6 intensive months of training to be a good husband. And yet, society depends on these two. How would you explain that as a psychologist? A Christian psychologist?
Well, I always encourage schools, if possible, to offer a parenting class. I think it's something that we are missing, not just as in our denomination or in our church schools, but also, in any other schools. There is no textbook and there is no handbook to be handed to newly wed young people or to young parents. So basically, you kind of learn by trial and error. And most of the time, we are deemed to repeat the mistakes that our parents made or our people in authority we had to deal with. So we model and we perpetuate the same behaviors and the same it is my hope that one day we will be able to offer, at least as Adventist schools, to offer parenting classes.
Very good, very good. I hope we can get the message to the Adventist leaders, education leaders. Dr. Evelyn, what gender discrimination have you either seen or personally experienced?
Probably seen and experienced at the same time. When I went to the medical school, it was my desire to go into the field of surgery. But when I graduated and went into postgraduate internship, I learned that the surgery world is for men. And they make jokes about women who goes into surgery. So I said, oh, this is not my world. And then, after graduation, after the postgraduate internship, I went into a maternity hospital for 2 years. And there,
Everybody welcomed you.
and everybody welcomed me. And this is where the male gender bias, or what do you call this? Discrimination came in, because in the obstetrics department, there was only one man. And we made fun of him because he was there. So I think that's an experience that I have seen in discrimination, in the career that I have. And another discrimination that I have experienced at the same time is when I work in a company as a company physician, and I always sit with the hiring committee. And when there is there is an applicant coming in, and there's a male and a female applicant, most of the time the male applicant gets the position. For what reason? It's always like this. She's a woman. We will have lost months because she will get pregnant sometime in the year. And so that means 30 days being not in the workplace. So this is some of the experience that I have seen in terms of female discrimination.
It's amazing that you have actually experienced it. Let's try Nigeria. I hope there is no gender discrimination in Nigeria.
There's a lot. And it starts with the attitude of people when they announce the gender of a baby. So it's like, oh, okay, somebody gave birth. Okay, what's it? Is it a boy or a girl? If it's a girl, it's just, okay, it's a child. But if it's a boy, yay, everybody's dancing, like, yeah, it's a baby boy, you know? So it's like the birth of a boy brings more fanfare than the birth of a girl. And a lot of things in Nigeria. With jobs also in some places, you know, if a guy, the way you just walk into the place, is like, you get it's doors open because you're a man in a way. So being a woman, you have to use extra, to convince extra, you know, you need to talk, you know, to really prove yourself, you know, you have to do a lot of work. But for the men, it just comes, shows up as a man, and oh, yeah, sir, and then everything's over. So
Let's go to Dr. Alina.
Well, personally, I have been fortunate. I have been working in my life in different places, and most of my supervisors were male, except one person. However, I have been treated very nicely, and I have never felt discriminated by them. But I have witnessed discrimination. And
But before that, do you think that they treated you nicely because you were a woman? Now that you look at it critically now, did they treat everybody like that? Like, do you have colleagues who were male?
yes.
And were treated also with
Yes,
dignity? Okay.
I believe so.
Okay, good.
And I also
good.
think they were born-again Christians.
All right. Very good. So the experience you have seen.
Yes. I remember when I did my doctoral studies, at some point in time, I had a classmate from Kuwait. And she always had to wear the burqa and so on. And I remember at some point in time, we had to do some group work outside of the classroom. And we invited her to the place where we were supposed to meet and so on. And she said, well, I will have to ask my husband if he can drive me and if he can join me. So I do believe, and we all know, that in some parts of the world there is still discrimination. Now, this is very culturally based. And to us, it may look as discrimination. But probably in those particular cultures, not being able to drive or not being able to be on the street by yourself may not be.
Okay. You know, when you're talking about these experiences, something just remembered an experience I had here when I came as a student in the year 2000. I needed to do a master's degree in education. In my mind, I just wanted education. And when I got here, they were offering a master's in education, but with specialization either in curriculum instruction or in administration. And so I didn't know the difference between the two, because for me, I just wanted education. And so I asked a friend, I said, what is the difference between curriculum instruction and education administration? He said, I still laugh whenever I think about it. He said, curriculum and instruction is for women and educational administration is for men. So I ended up doing my master's degree in educational administration, only to discover that, no, I needed curriculum instruction because I love teaching more than sitting and doing paperwork. And so some of the things, people do these things, and they are done like in an innocent way, but they can have quite an effect on people. Let's go to Carol.
Well, in India, gender discrimination I have seen and maybe not experienced, as I told you, because I grew up in a family where both boys and girls are treated equal. But seeing, okay, all right, let me give you a very solid example. When we got married, since my husband comes from the southern part of India, South India is usually, they're very, very conservative people, the whole part of South India, and of course a little bit of central and the northern part, but there's some kind of differences still. But south part of India, they are very conservative. They stick to traditions and customs. If you change, you are upside down. So when we got married, my friends, most of my friends are Hindu friends, but from the southern part of India. And they said...
Wait a minute. The wedding takes place at the bride's place or the groom's place?
It depends.
In your case?
But in my case, I mean, the weddings... my wedding was in my hometown.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So when my friends knew that I got married, and they sent me messages, hey, you must pray that you should get a boy. Okay? I said, why? No, in South India, a boy should be first. Oh. Okay, so I said, I didn't understand. So I asked my mom, and she said, they're just telling you, don't worry, she said to me. And then after a week, I got a few more messages from my friends. Hey, we are praying for you to get a boy. So I knew that they were fasting and, having prayer. And then when I conceived, now in India, they do not allow the doctors to identify the gender because of female infanticide. Why? Through the years, back in the olden days, if you look historically, usually the kings are the royalty. Okay, even if the queen is there, she doesn't do much. So there were cases, many cases, that when a baby girl is born, they would kill the baby girl. Or they would give the baby girl to an orphanage. Somebody takes care of the child until they get the second one that should be a boy. So the government saw it's like, you're killing, a human being alive. So the government made a law that no hospitals, no doctors, neither clinics will identify the gender. And in the doctor's prescription, it is given there. If you identify the gender, you'll be in jail. At that time, it was 5 years imprisonment. So no doctors, even if you want to, know the gender, you cannot. So I was just praying. I said, Lord, really? Then I need a boy. So I earnestly prayed. And then, when my son was born, there was great happiness. My friends keep sending greetings. Oh, congratulations, our prayers. Oh, God answered our prayers because you got a boy. And I could feel at that time, wow. So if the firstborn is a boy, there's a lot of, it carries weight, And that came to my mind. And when my son was born, my mom was there, and we were talking, and I was asking this question. Wow, even in India itself, with different languages and cultures, still this is there, I said. And then she told me, but my mother was very good in the way she explained. She said, each culture is unique. Everybody is not the same. You have to understand. And let that thing not be in your mind, because it will trouble you more.
Wow, amazing. We take these things for granted. You have a baby girl, baby boy. For me, I remember when we're expecting a child, I said, Lord, I just want a child who's normal. That's the only prayer I had. And a child who has 2 eyes and 2 hands, 2 legs, and a mouth, and he can talk, can hear me, can smile, can see. That's all what my prayer was. And it's amazing in some cultures, you really, really, really pray for a specific gender. Let's go to the next question. And I want you to just give one way. And I'll start with Dr. Evelyn. In what ways do you think men are also discriminated against? Just one thing.
Again, in the career choice among the physicians, if you choose to be a dermatologist and you're a male, you're not marketable.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay.
Man, you want to be a dermatologist in the Philippines, change your career or go do it somewhere else? Dr. Alina.
I think our society sends very contradictory messages to men. For example, one example that comes to my mind is that men always have to be strong, either in the face of physical or emotional pain. On the other side, we want them to be strong. On the other side, when we marry these men, we really want them to be empathetic, and we want them to be romantic, and so on. But we don't teach them. We don't allow them to be until they get married, and then we expect them actually to...
The teaching part, Dr. Alina, it's okay if you don't teach us, but please allow us. Allow us to cry. Dr. Dimitrescu, I think we should be allowed to cry. We should be allowed to, at a certain point, say, okay, listen, I can't live this. It's too heavy for me. Come and help me. We should not always be tough. On the crying part, I know somebody had mentioned that from the men, that men are not allowed also to cry. And he came from a different culture. And I think this is an international issue. Men, go ahead and cry when you have to cry. It is good for your soul. If you lost somebody who is a loved one, cry. It is good for... I think that's true. As a psychologist, I think we'll agree with that. That when we cry, if we are in pain and we cry, it's part of the healing process. And we can cry of joy. I know when I was growing up a young boy, I did that a lot. Whenever I had not seen my brother for a long time and he shows up, I would just start crying, and my brother said, "What's going on with you? Are you all right?" I said, "I'm all right." "So why are you crying?" I said, "Because my brother has just come home. I've not seen him for like 2-3 years." They thought I was weird, but I hope we can be allowed to cry. I will insist on that one more than anything else. Yes, a blessing.
We talk about how it's discrimination to allow only the girls to cook and do house chores. I think it's also discrimination against the men, because basic life skills, you don't teach them. It's like, so when they live on their own, their house is messy, they cannot feed themselves, and they're not telling them, oh, you need to get married because you need the woman to do all of that. These are simple life skills that you need, but you are not being taught because they think, oh, it's not a man thing to do. But I think it's also a discrimination against men. I mean, it's not good for them in most cases.
Let's go to Carol, and we'll go to the next question. What common statements are gender biased against women?
All right, as I said, in India, it's usually the men, right? If a woman, now for example, if a man is riding a bike and a woman is sitting behind him, she should not sit like a man, like that. She should sit, yes. If not, they say, you're a tomboy. Or if you do a little hard work, like, for me, it's good that my parents have taught, especially my father. I could do electrical wiring very easily. I can do plumbing work, okay? I can do any masonry, the mason's work, because my father grew up in that way. So if a lady does something like that, come on, you're not a bulldozer. Because men are bulldozers, not women. So it's very strange to hear such things, and it hurts sometimes. Yes.
Let's go to Dr. Evelyn. If you want to be a bulldozer, go to India. Yes. Common statements people use.
We have this, I don't know if it's a culture or what, but when your child misbehave and you receive a report from the teacher, usually the father will say, he or she is the son or daughter of my wife. Oh. But if the parents receive a very good commendation from the school, the father will always say, he or she is my son, my daughter.
Wow. So the one who's not doing well belongs to the mother.
The mother, the woman.
Interesting. Dr. Alina.
I don't know, maybe some statements such as, don't be so dramatic, or don't be so emotional like a woman. Or if you talk to a man about something else besides cars and research, for example, how should I know about this? How should I know about this? In other words, this is not my field. I'm not a woman.
Blessing.
Against women, sometimes is like when you expect, like we've mentioned, we expect women to be the only ones that can cry. And so when you see a boy crying, don't cry like a girl. So it's like it's a girl thing to be emotional only. And so for me, that's something that is very common. I don't really know about any other common thing except for that.
Okay, all right. Let's see. With IAS, maybe things are happening at IAS that need to be corrected.
How we can prevent is how we address issues. For example, one day I saw two boys, they were about to fight. And so I called the one that was offended. I tried to settle the fight between them because they were in my adventurer class. So the boy that was offended started to cry. And then for me, I was like, okay, you want to cry? It's okay, cry. So you let it out. But some other times, if we were to be like the way we'll say, no, you're a man, don't cry, you're not supposed to cry. So how I addressed that issue, showed to the boy that it taught him a lesson probably unconsciously. So it's like how we address issues. If you allow, it's okay, you want to let out your anger, it's fine. So how we address issues is the way we can curb this gender discrimination.
I'm feeling good that you told a young man it's okay if he cries. So I feel good now, I can cry. Very good. Let's go to Carol.
All right, just let me touch a little bit on crying. My husband is here, it's okay. My husband is very emotional when he watches movies. I will cry maybe after 5 minutes, and I look at him, wow, your tears are already down. And my son would just look and say, oh, mommy, daddy's crying. I say, it's okay. It doesn't matter, let him cry. But I think I have not really seen gender discrimination at IS, but maybe if we can prevent in a way, we respect each culture. We empathize. If we can empathize, then respect and empathy maybe would be good. Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. Let's go to Dr. Alina, and then we'll end with Dr. Evelyn.
As a parent and as an educator, I believe that being intentional and teaching our children intentionally what is discrimination and what is not, by modeling but also by teaching them. In other words, yes, there might be certain roles that we assign to boys and girls, but at the same time, they should have equal opportunities to either choose, a career that is best suited for their personalities and based on their interests, rather than our society dictates that they should be going into such and such a field. For example, in the educational field, in the early education, early childhood education, we have only 5% male. Why? Because male are not encouraged to be nurturing and to be motherly. At the same time, teaching them that trying to do things that the other gender is doing is okay. Wearing certain colors are not just, for boys or for girls. Also, I believe that in our church, we should be more open to give equal opportunities to women to have certain roles. I know that in certain parts of the world is probably more critical than in others.
I want you to quickly address, just briefly, what do you think about the possibility of running parenting seminars here at IS? To train people to be parents. What do you think about that?
I think this is a great idea.
Do you think you can start something like that and help us all?
I've done it for about 3 years in the past in small groups, but I think we can involve many other parents who have experience and who have the training. Sure, it's a wonderful idea.
I think it would be a great idea. We're going to end with Dr. Evelyn.
I suggest that we avoid stereotyping. We have clubs in our schools, and sometimes we always choose a male as the president, and the secretary is always a female. So I think we need to change that stereotyping and give the opportunity to both gender if they have that capability, rather than basing it on the gender itself. Second, I think it would be good to have activities that are neutral for our students. Okay, our projects to be gender sensitive. It will be applicable to a male or a female rather than just on one gender itself. And thirdly, if there is a complaint, I would address this to our administrators, our teachers. If there is a complaint of gender discrimination, we should take it seriously and not just laugh at it, because it's happening even in a Christian Adventist institution. Because sometimes we take it as if there is nothing. It's not happening with us because we are in a Christian institution, but it's happening, and I think we have to take it also seriously.
Thank you so much. And I think part of what you four have shared here, some of the things that start as small things in the family, in the church, in the classroom, they get magnified in the society, and that's how gender discrimination actually spreads over the whole society. Thank you so much for being with us today, and we want to thank those who are watching us online and or live, and we want to thank also those who are here in the audience for being with us today. We have learned so much from our 4 experts here from 4 different countries, and we encourage you to continue addressing this issue of gender discrimination in your countries, in your cultures, in your communities. Fight it, because it's not right. It is not dignifying to the people who are experiencing that. Until we meet again next time, we want you to remain united in diversity, but if you have questions or recommendations, please email us at united@is.edu. Thank you.